Welcome to B2B Boots to Books, the show where we explore the journeys of veterans and military-connected students as they navigate their paths from service to the classroom and beyond. I'm Dustin Abrego.
And I'm Jakob, your host. Each week, we will dive into powerful stories of resilience, determination, and success.
Whether you're a veteran yourself, a military family member, or simply inspired by the strength of those who serve, you're in the right place.
Let's turn the page and start this incredible journey together.
Hello, and welcome back to B2B. I'm Dustin Abrego.
And I'm Jakob.
All right, so this week is going to be a little interesting. I'll have to be doing a verbal describing. Please always check out our YouTube, LCC Connect, for this episode, because we're going to be looking at the GI Bill comparison on the website. So we're trying to do stuff to walk people through some really useful tools of looking at the different benefits. So I'll do my best to do descriptor without belaboring Kyle what's going on. So
yeah, and I'll do my best to also describe what's going on the screen. But yeah, the GI Bill comparison tool. And also, actually, before we get started, I'm going to shout out our center because we made Best for Vets again this year. So Military Times does that survey every year. In Lansing Community College, I believe we're going on our 5th year of winning that award in that distinction of Best for Vets. So if you're looking for, that's another great website and resource to look at if you're looking for schools, is the Military Times Best for Vets list. So.
And that's not one that we just pay to get. That is like an independent thing that they go and assess us and go, this is actually easy to use for vets, and they actually can get degrees and jobs and other things. So it's not a we paid for that award type
deal.
Yeah,
correct.
Thing.
Actually, it's the complete opposite. They send out their survey, and they usually take about 6 to 9 months to compile all their evidence and all their stuff, and then they come out with their list every year, and we made it.
Go us.
Go us. So yeah, real quick. So the GI Bill comparison tool. So the quickest way to get to this, because the VA website is very tricky to navigate, just Google GI Bill comparison tool. This page will pop up. So what this does is it allows you to search by your school name. You can also do location, but the best way to do it is just by the school name. So we're going to use Lansing Community College just as the first example here. So you just type in where you want to go, and it usually pops up. I can't spell today. Hit search, and then your school's going to pop up, and it's going to give a quick little synopsis of what the school looks like. So at Lansing Community College, it's in Lansing, Michigan. Tuition benefit, housing benefit, so it'll pay 100% in-state rate. So that's always, that's the most important. We talked about that before. The in-state rate is what matters. The GI Bill will pay 100% of the in-state rate at that school.
And in-state also, for people who are like, well, if I'm currently deployed and other things, it's where you do your taxes, on your taxes where you're at. Maybe not if you are, like if you're on base, that could be a little bit different for an extended thing, but usually it's where's home and stuff.
It's where your home of record is. So if those active duty folks that are thinking of it, it's usually where you I said deployed, but where you enlisted at. Right. So if you enlisted in Michigan and you're stationed in Washington and your home of record is still Michigan, use your Michigan address, you get in-state tuition at Michigan schools. So there's a cool little feature you can compare, and it'll save your compare institutions down here at the bottom. So we'll come back to that later. But you just click on the school, and it'll give you a more in-depth look at what your school is. Tells you about how many students are currently using the GI Bill. Tells you, your programs, your accreditation. Also says the size of the school, link to the website, yellow ribbon program, etc. You can calculate your benefits down here, and then it gives you a cost breakdown. So it tells you how much your housing allowance will be, how much your book stipend is a year, and the total paid to you directly. So going to LCC, you get $15,299 a year. That's just fall, spring. It doesn't calculate summer either. And then out-of-pocket cost for tuition. GI Bill pays the school this much, which is $7,340 on here, which is, if you're in state, is more than enough to cover. It also gives you an estimate per term of what you're looking at for costs, so that it'll tell you up here, tells you out-of-pocket cost is going to be 0. Down here, it shows what it's actually going to pay per year and gives you that estimate.
So those numbers that Kyle gave, currently we have chosen for post 9/11 full 100% status for that. So that's not a guarantee of these numbers, and the numbers can change from year to year based off different things as well. This
Correct.
is you get to go in and choose your benefit from a drop down. This isn't you log in and then do it. You can just access. This is still a va.gov website, so it's legit.
Right.
But you need to know your benefit when choosing these drop downs and things, so that way you know you're getting an accurate estimate.
Correct. And we can talk there. So you click into the school, and then down here where it gives you this big, breakdown of what is actually going on, there's a little search or a little drop down bar to the left where you can pick what benefit you're using. So, for example, if you're using VRNE, the Chapter 31, you can click that, and it'll show you a little bit different. Which I actually wouldn't do that if you're VRNE, because it's only showing $724 a month. So I'm not sure what's really going on there. But if you're using VRNE, go off the post 9/11 rates.
Right.
You can do your, are you 30 months? Are you 24 months? 18 months? How much you have? Did you use your post 9/11 for housing and everything like that? You can literally customize this to you. In specific, you can even go to the tuition and fees amount. So if someone's told you something different, like if you've talked to financial aid or you talk to a counselor and they tell you you're $10,000, for example, it'll switch. Everything over here will change, and it'll tell you how much it pays. You're still at $0 out of pocket.
So it's adjusted initially out of the box when you're looking at things, so you don't have to fiddle with tuition rates and things. It sets to the in-state tuition.
Yes.
Kyle's bringing up that, for example, some of our selective admission programs, maybe Rad Tech, Surge Tech, Dental Assistants, those will have different fees than other classes would, right? An English class and the amount of things that an English instructor needs and the classroom setup is very different than the fees for someone that's licensed to be able to teach different things or other things like that. So you can adjust the fees to see, is this still going to meet me where I'm at?
Right. And then speaking of fees, that's a good question that I get a lot, is what fees does the VA pay for? Good rule of thumb, if it's an optional fee that does not have to be applied, i.e. a student support fee or a legal fee or something like that, that is optional and you can opt out of, VA will not pay for it. If it is a mandatory fee for a class or a licensure or anything like that, VA will pay for it.
There are very few fees. Usually schools tend to wrap everything into mandatory. If you're at certain universities, they might, because the fitness center, and we're talking very large D1, very large, I think MSU is like this, where you can optional have the fitness center and things. You can choose to opt out of it for the fees. Those would be the ones that Kyle's talking about. Most schools tend to wrap things into for financial aid reasons, whether it be GI Bill or even FAFSA related things, to make them not optional, to allow students, not because they're trying to tack on the bill more, but so that way they're more eligible for financial aid reasons.
Correct. Now, that's an excellent point as well. Fees get a little tricky, but just good rule of thumb. If it's something you can waive, VA won't pay for it. If it's something that's mandatory, VA is going to pay for it.
Right.
So this is where this tool is extremely helpful, is when you're looking at multiple different schools. So let's just use the example Michigan and Michigan State, just because we're in Michigan.
Sure.
So you can look at Michigan State, and that fancy, so it actually has a cautionary warning: school placed on heightened cash monitoring. So I don't know what that means, but I've never seen that. But that's an interesting thing to look at, and you can, that's something when you're looking at this school. And I'm not trying to bash on Michigan State, but that popped up.
The .gov website,
and I know Michigan State's veteran services very well. They're excellent people. Right. So, but that's something, when you contact that school to look at it, that's something that you might want to ask about it. And why are you doing that? So you can hit that little compare button down here, and it'll save it right here. So you can do up to 3 schools, but we're just going to do 2 to make it easy. I can't spell today at all. So we're going to look at the Ann Arbor campus. And then we're going to hit the compare button down here. So once you've done that and you've selected your institutions, down here at the bottom, there's a little button on the left-hand side that says compare. Just go ahead and click that. It's going to bring up the two schools side by side. So you scroll down, it shows the location, shows the accreditation, the amount of GI Bill students, length of program, type of institution, size of institution, etc. And then down here is where it's going to give the cost breakdown. So at Michigan, it's $16,736. At Michigan State, it's $15,372 for tuition and fees. The GI Bill pays all tuition and fees, so your out-of-pocket cost is $0 if you are getting in-state tuition. Key.
And for our audio listeners, it literally has a line. We didn't have to do math. It literally says out-of-pocket tuition, like basically what do you have to pay, and it shows $0. So you don't have to do math. It's very I don't use this tool because that's outside the scope. Kyle and Andrew in our office use this a lot. So this is maybe the second time I'm seeing it, and I'm very much keeping track of what's going on right now. So it's very easy to use.
It's super, super user-friendly. You can even do this and highlight the differences.
Oh, that's nice.
So everything that's the same will show up white. Everything that's different will show in this like beige yellow color. So right here, you can see the tuition and fees are different at each school by about, $1,500, not much, but still that out-of-pocket cost is $0. And then down here, what everybody loves is what is it going to pay you? So the housing allowance for Michigan State is $1,581. It's in East Lansing. University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, a little bit more expensive town to live in. They pay you a little bit more because of that. Again, it's based on the area code that your school is located in.
Not where you live.
Not where you live, and it pays the E5 with dependence rate. Okay. So if you're looking at BAA chart or BAH charts, you can look that up as well. And it'll show you, but the GI Bill comparison tool is pretty accurate. It might be off by a few months. So, for example, January, all this stuff changes. You usually get a cost of living increase every January. But your school should know. If you just call the school, then you're good. Down here, the caution flags, it'll tell you what the caution flag is. Again, must be new, but I like that they have it. It also shows student complaints if there are any.
Oh, wow.
Both of these schools have 0. Academics, credit for military training. So it says Michigan State, no. Michigan, yes. That is not counting the JST. JST, you send your JSTs in. I'm not sure what this is.
It could be, so when it comes to, and this could be a whole other episode, when we say JST, your joint service transcript, basically it takes all your MOS stuff.
Yeah, it takes everything that you've done, any school you've done, and then the Air Force is the Community College of the Air Force. JST, Community College of the Air Force transcript, same thing. Just call it different. But yeah, it takes what you've done in the military, so any schools, any trainings you've done, and turns it into college credit. Whether that college credit goes towards anything with your degree, that's a different question.
Or if the college offers things like that. A college can only give credit at that school. So it doesn't mean it's not valuable. It's just if that school doesn't offer anything like that, I've worked with a student where they had some really significant experience, like being an instructor at a sniper training range for like a decade. And I went, that's great. We don't offer anything like that that's similar. Maybe the police academy would be something. I'm not sure, but he wasn't aiming at that. So it's valuable credit, but if the school doesn't offer anything for it, they can't give the college credit at that place. So
yeah. So it'll show on your transcript as credit, but it won't show as credit applied anywhere.
Right.
So that might be what they mean is they don't apply the credit anywhere. Again, I'm not a Michigan State guy, right. So
we don't work there.
We don't work there. So call Michigan State if you're interested in Michigan State. Ask these questions. But this is a good resource to have these questions come up. So Michigan obviously says they do take credit for military training, and then down here it has veterans programs. So both are yellow ribbon. Both have a student veteran group. Both follow the VA principles of excellence. Both have the 8 keys to veteran success. Both offer military tuition assistance. So if you're still on active duty or you're in the Guard and using that 1606 and the FTA, perfect. They also have priority enrollment for veterans at both schools.
What does that mean?
It's priority. They want veterans to come. So
they get
sign
up earlier.
Yeah, I guess. No, I would say priority enrollment. From what enrollment. This is enrollment. This
okay.
is what I'm
I was
hearing
thinking
is
class sign-up.
veteran
That's
preferred.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, and University of Michigan actually, I know for a fact because I went there, they do have priority registration for veterans.
Sure.
So veterans can actually sign up. We actually sign up at the same time as student athletes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's usually, if schools do that, offer priority registration, it's usually the same as like the student athlete schedule.
Right.
Which is great. You get first pick of the litter. It's awesome. But this is pretty much what the comparison tool does, is you can compare institutions right away. Now, let's say you're stuck between going to Michigan State. We're going to remove University of Michigan out of here. And we're going to return to the school search. And we're going to do two schools in the same area. Michigan State is in East Lansing. Our college is in Lansing. It's right next door. So let's say you're thinking about going to Michigan State, but you see that Lansing Community College might be a cheaper option for you. Might save you some money. So this is where it becomes really helpful. I'm always going to highlight the differences, just so it's a lot easier. So you can see a small community college like Lansing Community College, and I say small, we're a big community college, but in a big school, Michigan State University, which is right down the road. You can see the length of the program, 2-year versus 4-year. The GI Bill students is vastly different. We have 276. They have 903. Both are public. You see the size of the institution, medium versus large. And then down here is where you're really going to see that cost breakdown. So the GI Bill here is going to pay the $7,340, which is all of the tuition and fees that are estimated, versus Michigan State's is $15,372. The big thing to look at, though, is that out-of-pocket cost is still $0 to the student.
So when we look at this, I always try to hit home on this because this is viewing this as a post 9/11 bill. This is how this is currently set up, right? Students that come to us want to use the post 9/11 bill here at LCC. Usually there's a bunch of other financial aid options instead of using, because you use the post 9/11 bill, that's done. Like it's a timer, you use it within a certain time, that's done. So again, you've already earned this benefit by putting in time, blood, sweat, tears, all those things that you had to do. It's not that our education is less. We only offer up to associates. You're going to have to take these classes at MSU anyway. So you might as well save the post 9/11 bill if you're going to go get a bachelor's at MSU. And again, it's not a knock against MSU. They're university, so it's going to cost more. But I always try to tell people, or we both do, to maximize it, to save it. Because I need to pull this up more often to try to show. Yeah. Because like if I can just say the numbers double, and people are like, oh.
Yeah,
like, just
and
save
that's
it. I need to do this.
I use this all the time. I used it yesterday with a student to show, they were eligible for that Michigan Reconnect that we talked about on here, and they wanted to use their post 9/11 GI Bill.
They're like, it's easier, and I go,
it is, it is, but it's not. And I'm like, the question I always ask is, I'm like, do you need the income? And they're like, no. So I'm like, okay, here's this awesome Michigan Reconnect while you're at LCC, because they actually planned on transferring to Michigan State. And I showed them this exact page. Your tuition is almost double what it is at Michigan State. So if you get the free college, with Reconnect or the community college guarantee here in Michigan at
you
LCC,
might even have Pell Grant also. Usually people are not aware and have not filled out the FAFSA first.
Right.
And you can do whatever you want. I'm not a financial advisor. I will not tell people, but I will say that you are just like throwing it and not getting the max out of it. If you are going to get a bachelor's, or if you're ever thinking about it, because it doesn't expire, just chill on it. And when Kyle says income, like, can you scroll down again, Kyle, for payments made to you? This is what we're talking about. It's like the housing allowance. If you're going full time, because sometimes people are like, I need it because of mortgage, rent, family, other things. If I'm going full time, that makes total sense.
Yep. Still
fill out the FAFSA, see if you have Pell Grant availability. And again, grants are loans you don't pay back. I know that's a weird way to frame it, but people understand that when I say they'll give you money to go to college. Yeah. And then also, like, if you're using, so let's take that, fill out your FAFSA. Always fill out your FAFSA, because if you're using any of these benefits, whether it's Reconnect, whether it's the post 9/11 GI Bill, the Pell Grant is a refundable grant. So meaning once your GI Bill comes in and pays your tuition, what's left over on your account from your federal aid that is refundable goes back into your pocket.
So if you're eligible for Pell Grant and you're using your post 9/11 GI Bill, that money is going to get refunded back to you.
Right.
So that's just way more money in your pocket. And I believe it's up to like $3,600 a semester. If you are fully Pell eligible.
Fully Pell eligible and other things like that.
So you could get up to $3,600 a month. Just depending on different things, income level, etc.
And this lets you shop around and look at things, because oftentimes I feel like when students look at after here, they're like, where should I go? And they look at programs, and sometimes the programs are, well, I've heard about this one. I go, right, have you looked at the other one? Because the tuition might be completely different. Some of the partner schools we've looked at, because they might have a different veteran rate, that some students are like, oh, because of this different rate that I get, this is way different when we're talking thousands of dollars. And if, God forbid, you have to do loans, that completely changes a lot of things for people.
Yeah, so excellent scenario that I always look at. So I always like to do, so people, when I was working at Michigan and Toledo, people would always be like, I want to go to Notre Dame, or I want to go to Yale, or I want to go to Harvard.
Sure. Love it.
So we'd always be like, okay, cool. Have you looked at the GI Bill comparison tool to see what the tuitions at those schools were?
Right.
So again, we're going to leave Michigan State just because it's the most local state school around here. And we're going to go Notre Dame. We're just going to look at a big private school.
And I don't think people know that they are private. I think people get confused because I'm not sure why. I think in this state, people think Grand Valley is private too for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like Grand Valley State University, like they're public.
It's the same thing. In Ohio, you have University of Dayton that people think is a state school, but it's a private college.
Yeah.
It's a private Catholic college. So right here, you can see like Notre Dame has way less students.
Students.
GI Bill students. I believe students overall too. I mean, Michigan
agree.
State's
Right.
huge.
Correct.
Notre Dame, I think, is like 8,000 people. It is a private school. It is a suburban school. So we're going to do that highlight differences again too. And you can see there's a lot more community focus. It says right there it's a Roman Catholic denomination school. And here is where it gets tricky.
Okay.
So the tuition and fees is $60,000. $60,301 at Notre Dame compared to the state school, $15,372. Like I said, the GI Bill will only pay up to the in-state tuition at the public schools. So that means
For that state.
So that means
Wow.
Notre Dame, you're only going to get $28,937 covered by that GI Bill out of that $60,301.
And that's a year.
That's a year.
This is not 4 years.
This is not 4 years.
No.
So this is out of pocket at the University of Notre Dame to a GI Bill, to a post 9/11 GI Bill user is $31,364.
Which is a huge cut if you just were thinking of doing it. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money. Like that's a down payment of a house.
And without the GI Bill,
right, it's $60,000.
It would cost you $60,000. So you're still saving $30,000 a year using the GI Bill. And I mean, I'm sure Notre Dame has. I'm not bashing private schools. I'm not saying don't go to private schools. There's probably other ways to get that $31,000 covered, scholarships, private
students will often pick things because, just like all of us do, I know someone that went there, or I like their football team for whatever. That's fine. Sure, that can be a starting thing. Look at the actual numbers of what you're doing, and is that going to make you drown in debt? Like, we don't want that for anyone.
Correct. I mean, I have a buddy that's at University of Notre Dame using post 9/11 GI Bill right now. He loves it. He wouldn't trade it for a thing. He also has scholarships. He also has things to make that number a little bit easier on him.
Right.
Did he still have to take out loans? Yes. But he's going to the University of Notre Dame. Chances are he'll be fine. Again, the cautionary flags, Notre Dame doesn't have any, and you can just keep going down. Credit for military.
If you went up to where the housing allowance actually is, I think people might think this is surprising that you would actually get more for MSU versus Notre Dame because it is a smaller area. I have a friend that lives around that area. He doesn't work or go to Notre Dame, but it's a little less dense population and as much. So the housing, I mean, it's within like, $100 or so that we're looking, $150, but it's not, it's going to be different, even though the school costs, like the housing allowance, that it's not going to offset it. It's not like the money is coming up from somewhere.
Nope. And that's a good distinction. shows you what kind of the institutional local. So Michigan State says it's in a city. Notre Dame is in a suburban area. Usually the suburban areas are going to be a little bit less cost of living, so your housing allowance is going to be a little bit less.
And when we look at all of this is a bachelor's level tuition rate and things.
Yeah, until we put a community college in, it'll be specific to the community college. But these two, yes.
This is not Notre Dame master's program tuition rate. This is not MSU PhD rate for, some of our students that are advanced and want to hit that point and stuff. This is the rate that they're going to be paying for that, correct?
Correct. This is literally looking at just undergrad usually.
Right.
Like I said, there are that tools on the side. So if you just remove one of your schools and you're looking at one school alone, you can go over to the edge. Where is that at? So yeah, you can come over here. You can go down. You can do the school costing calendar. So if you know that you're in a PhD program that is $30,000 a year, we'll just use that as a blank. It's semesters. You're going full time. It'll still tell you your out of pocket cost is still going to be zero. Still gives you that housing allowance. Still is total paid to you. So same things. If you do know that you're in a PhD program or a master's program that costs more, and you know what the cost is, or you have an estimate of what the cost is, you can come over here to the left-hand side, click on school cost and calendar, drop that box down. You can pick if you're in-state or not. You can pick your tuition and fees, and you're good to go.
So takeaways from this: people need to do this, shop around, especially before a certain time, knowing what your benefit is, right? Being able to figure that out. And then, what are we missing? What is there anything else on here other than you just need to look at different things? Just because the school sounds fun, you want to go to the games, you can still go to the game without throwing $30K at a school and money.
Yeah, I went to Notre Dame games when I was a student at Michigan. It was cool. Yeah, like if we could dive into this for hours. Yeah, it's one of these things you just have to play with it. It is it's not perfect. It's gotten better. Obviously, there's some things on here today that I found out that I look at this almost on a weekly basis, and they're always updating it. They're always making it better.
And so you don't have to log in. You can just get in.
Yeah, you can literally just Google this. You don't have to have a VA login. Anybody can Google this. You don't have to be a veteran to even look at this. If you're a taxpayer and you're genuinely concerned about where your tax dollars are going to education, this is a great place to look up and see what's going on. There's so many different tools in this tool itself. Get on it, play around with it, do your research, and this makes it a little bit easier to do that, in my opinion.
Sure. And again, for our audio listeners, we tried the best of trying to work over it, but please check out the video for our YouTube, LCC Connect, and then B2B will be posted there at some point here in the future. Otherwise, this is great. I learned some stuff today, Kyle, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I hope it helps. And if you have any questions, just reach out.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
You've been listening to B2B Boots to Books.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the inspiring stories of veterans and military-connected students.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your community.
We'd love to hear from you, so connect with us on social media or take a listen to previous episodes at lccconnect.com or find us on your favorite streaming platform.
Remember, every story is a step forward.
And together, we can build a bridge from boots to books.
Until next time, stay strong
and keep moving forward.